So mensuration is a part of geometry, everyone knows it, correct? So we have a two-dimensional figures, three-dimensional figures, and we have a conversion of 2D and 3D, correct? Okay, so when you discuss about two-dimensional figure, what is a two-dimensional figure? Generally you learn it as any object has a length and breadth. Simply we call it as it's a 2D plane figure, correct? Okay, so there is a problem rises in the minds of the children. That is, if you take a rectangle, it has a length and breadth. Of course, if you take a square, there is only side. If you take a circle, it has only radius. Then how you call it as it's a two-dimensional? So that's very important, correct? So here the definition is very important. If you want to say about a two-dimensional figure, you have to say the figure which can be represented on plane is called a plane figure or a two-dimensional figure, correct? Then there is no problem. So a plane has two axes, correct? One is x-axis, another one is the y-axis. When you take x-axis and y-axis, so it's a two dimensions. So plane can be represented on these two-dimensional. That's the reason these figures are said to be two-dimensional figures. Those are rectangle, square, quadrilateral, circle, and all this comes under the two dimensions. Now today we are going to discuss about the various plane figures. Not only two-dimensional plane figures, we are going to take a three-dimensional figures also. Then what is three-dimensional figure? Can you represent a three-dimensional figure on a plane? Is it possible? Can you represent cuboid on a plane or cube on a plane or cylinder on a plane? It's not possible, correct? So it need one more dimension. That dimension is z-axis, x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. Three dimensions. But mostly everyone feels that a three-dimensional figure means the figure which has length, breadth and height. So but all the three-dimensional figures doesn't have length, breadth and height. When you take a sphere, it has only radius. Where is other dimensions? Where is length? Where is breadth? Where is height? Correct? So these prerequisites will give the total clarity about the information. When the children has this information, then there is no doubt at all. So what is a 2D figure? The figure which can be represented on a plane is called a two-dimensional figure or 2D figure. The figure which can be represented on space is called a three-dimensional figure. Now we are going to see the different terminologies about the mensuration next. So now you are going to see this important terms in the mensuration. Area. Area, what is area? So area can be defined as the region occupied by a closed geometric figure. It is applicable for both 2D and 3D figures. Maybe you have a doubt. Generally we use the word area for two-dimensional, but for three-dimensional we use lateral surface area or curved surface area, total surface area. Is it clear? Now we are going to discuss all those things. It is measured in the squared units because we are using two dimensions, length and breadth. So the area will be expressed in terms of square units. This is very, very important. So what is area? Area can be defined as the region occupied a closed geometry figure and its units are square units. This is very important. Now come to the next. About length. What is length? Length can be defined as the measure of the distance between 2 points. It is applicable for the both 2D and 3D, two-dimensional and three-dimensional. It is measured in millimeter, centimeters, meters and kilometers as per the standard format. So the length of a rectangle, the length of the side of a square, the length of the cuboid, like you can say the length. So length is the distance between 2 points, 2 corners. Clear? Okay. Now moving to the next. Breadth. You are seeing the breadth word. What is breadth? Breadth is a width of 2D or 3D figures, correct? So it is generally smaller in distance from the length and it uses similar units of measures. Of course, length is nothing but the breadth, but it is smaller when you compare with the length. Now coming to the next one is height. What is height? Height is the vertical distance from the base to the top of 3D figures. Generally, we will use the height, the term for 3D figures. Length and breadth will be used for 2D figures. This is very, very important. Once in the question you have the height, means it is clearly understandable that it's concerned to the 3D figures. It's a very important. Now coming to the next. See this figure. So here a cuboid is given, correct? Of course, when you cuboid, you have length, width and height. These three, correct? So you have length, you have width, you have, this is length, this one is the width and that's the height. These three are given. So now coming to the volume. What is a volume? Volume is a term exclusively used for the three-dimensional figures. In simple terms, the volume gives us an idea about the total space of a 3D figure holds. How much space the 3D figure occupies is called simply the volume of the 3D figure. That's very, very important. Clear? So what is the area and volume? You have to understand these two differences. Area is in square units, so volume is in cubic units. Maybe cubic centimeters, maybe cubic meters. It's very clear. The reason is here for calculating the volume, we are using three things. One is length, breadth and height. These three. So all are expressed in the same units, maybe centimeters, centimeter cube, maybe meters, maybe meter cube, maybe millimeters, millimeter cube. Clear? Okay. Now coming to the next. Perimeter. What is perimeter? So perimeter is a term used for 2D figures. It is a summation of length and breadth of the figure. It gives us the measurement of the boundary of 2D figures. So if you take it as anyone, for example, if you take it as anything here, okay, anything, then you take anything here, simply you can say as the sum of the total length. A square, if you take a square, when you take a square, so you have 4 sides. So the sum of 4 sides is the perimeter of the square. When you take a rectangle, you have 2 lengths and 2 breadths. So sum of 2 lengths and 2 breadths is a perimeter. If you take a triangle has 3 sides. Sum of these 3 sides will be perimeter. If you take a circle, what is the perimeter? The total length of the curved path, that is circumference, will be the perimeter. So this, like you have to say, the perimeter is summation of the length and breadth of the figure or the total measurement of the boundary of the 2D figure. This is very important. Now coming to the surface area. The surface area is an area of the surface the 3D figure has. It has the area that takes for covering 3D figure surfaces. That's the reason we are using 2 words. One is called lateral surface area. Second one is called total surface area. So when you consider only sides of the 3D figure, it is considered as a lateral surface area. When you consider top and bottom also, including top and bottom also, that area should be considered as a total surface area. Are you understand? When you consider only sides, the surfaces, side surfaces, that is called curved surface area or lateral surface area. So when you consider top and bottom both, including these sides, those is called total surface area. This is very, very important. Now moving to the next. See this. Curved surface area. Some 3D figures have curved surfaces instead of sharp edges. When you take cuboid, cube, it has edges, sharp edges, correct? But when you take a cone or a cylinder or a sphere or a hemisphere or a prism, so when you see all these things, then we will call it as these are curved. So instead of lateral, we use the word curved surface area. So curved surface area is a surface area of only curved surfaces of 3D shapes except for the circular top and base. Already I said, when you consider top and bottom, it will be considered as a total surface area. When you excluding these two, then we call it as a curved surface area. Okay, now moving to the next. Okay, then what is lateral surface area? Just now I said the lateral surface area covers all of 3D objects except the top and base of the object. Clear? So when you consider the total surface area is a summation of surface areas of the whole 3D objects including the top and base. So this is very, very important. So most of the children feel a difficulty to when you are going to calculate the total surface area, when you are going to calculate lateral surface area, curved surface area. A very simple thing here. What is the simple thing here? When you exclude top and bottom, that is called curved or lateral surface area. When include the top and bottom, then we call it as a total. Very simple. Exclude, include. When you exclude, it's a lateral. When you include, it's a total. That's it. Okay. Now moving to the squared units. So square units already I said. For area, we will get a squared, centimeter square, meter square, millimeter square. Such units are used in the measurements of area. They are used to when two similar units are multiplied to get the answer as per the formula. Is it clear? So that's the reason square units for area. Okay. Cubic unit for, it's very clear, a cubic unit for volume. Such units are used to measurements of the volume. They are used when three similar units are multiplied to get the answer per the formula. So when you take a cube, so we have length, breadth and height, all are same. When you take cuboid, length is different, breadth is different, height is different, but all are in same units. Centimeter, 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 centimeter of centimeter of centimeter. So 3 centimeters are multiplied means you will get centimeter cube. That's the reason cubic unit. Now coming to the next. See the figures. When you take these figures, first one is a square. Square have of course the length and breadth are both are same. That's the reason area of the square is a square. When you consider perimeter, how many sides it has? 4 sides, correct? So this one is A, this one is A, this one is A and this one is A. So total perimeter is A plus A plus A. A is 4A. Now coming to the rectangle. You have a length, this one is a breadth. You have 2 lengths here and 2 breadths here. So that's the reason the perimeter is 2 of L plus B. Now we'll see one more. When you take a parallelogram, the parallelogram has, this is a base. When you draw this one, this is a height. So base into height is the area of the parallelogram. When you take the perimeter, you have 2 lengths and 2 breadths. So that says 2 of L plus B. This is a very important thing here. Every rectangle is a parallelogram, but every parallelogram need not to be a rectangle. This is very, very important. So that's the reason the perimeter of the rectangle formula and perimeter of the parallelogram formula both are same. Are you understand? Now coming to the rhombus. So rhombus means all sides are equal. The diagonals perpendicularly bisect each other, but they are not equal in length. So area is, say this is a D1, when you say this D2, of D1, D2 is the area of the rhombus, and we have 4 sides, so the sum of 4 sides will be perimeter. Is it clear? That's the reason you can say. Now coming to the last one here. So here trapezium. So when you take a trapezium, what is a trapezium? Trapezium has 2 parallel sides and 2 non-parallel sides, and the distance between these 2 is h. That's the reason of h into a plus c is the form. When you take A, B, C, D, then the sum of the 4 sides will be A plus B plus C plus D. Is it clear? This is a very, very important. Now coming to the circle. So circle means area is pi r square and its perimeter is 2 pi r. When you come into the scalene triangle, means all sides are different. If you say A, B, C are the 3 sides, then under root S of S minus A of S minus B of S minus C is the area of the scalene triangle. Okay, this is called Heron's formula. Here S is the semi-perimeter. Semi-perimeter means A plus B plus C by 2, because perimeter is sum of all these. So semi-perimeter means A plus B plus C by 2. Of course, the perimeter is A plus B plus C. Is it clear? Now moving to the last one. Of course, isosceles triangle. When you come into the isosceles triangle, so that is half base into height, of course, as usual formula, but the sides, two sides are equal. Isosceles means two sides are equal, a plus a, and the base is b. So 2a plus b is the perimeter. Now coming to the equilateral triangle. So when you take the equilateral triangle, so what, all sides are equal. Here very important thing is the side and height, there is a relation. The height of the equilateral triangle is √3/2 times of its side. So that's the reason half into √3/2 into a, that is √3/4 a square is the area of equilateral triangle, and 3a is the perimeter. And when you come into the right angle triangle, half base into height, which is nothing but very similar to the any triangle, and here the perimeter is base, hypotenuse and height. You can say as a plus b plus c also. Is it clear? Like we can discuss about 2D figures. Yeah. So we can say about 2D figures, and we will discuss the rest of the things. But if you want to know about 2D figures, these are the things you have to follow. So area, volume, all these things, if you remember, once you aware about all this terminology, then it's very easy to understand the basic concepts. Thank you.